Long gone are the good old days when fusions in Raid Shadow Legends used to allow us use rare and epic champions that we already have in the game to fuse the new legendary champion. Those days are long gone. In these days, every fusion that is available in Raid Shadow Legends now comes with brand new champions. I'm talking about the old school fusion, and the next fusion that is coming up, you already know, Maranix, and now the epic and rare champions that will be needed to fuse this champion has been released. So in this video, I want to take a look at these epic champions. The first look, this is the first time I'm seeing this information. I wanted to see if this will be worth going for, because it's not every player in Raid Shadow Legends that will be able to go for Maranix. Yes, a lot of players will only be able to at least get one of these epic champions because they are new and they don't have the resources to go all the way for the fusion. So I want to find out if this champion will be awesome, and also find out if finally we have one more rare added to the game that is maybe useful, and the name is Prosecutor. So bear with me, this might be just me checking out their skills, and a brand new legendary is also added right now, Fortus, and we'll also be checking this champion out. At the end of this video, I'll let you know whether these champions, these epics, these rares are worth saving or they are totally trash and you shouldn't even bother going for it for this fusion. All right, usually fusions like this, I like to go for one and maybe get duplicate copies of the epics. I'll find out if that is also necessary in this one. I'm not going to talk about Maranix because we already have a dedicated video about this champion when we talked about the fusion. So I'll move over to the next champion, which is the legendary champion that is also being released along when this fusion will be launched tomorrow. So you will not find this champion in the game right now. You will not find them in the champion index until tomorrow when the fusion has launched officially. So this new champion is called Fortus, a legendary void affinity champion from the Night Rev faction, and it is defense based. I say it because I don't know whether it's a male or female. It's looking like a hidden copy of this champion that places freeze in the spider that has some weird stuff in the face. We'll check out the champion's picture when it's finally in the game. The first thing I can tell from this champion is a lot of fear, through fear. Everywhere I'm seeing fear in every skill available right here. There is no skill that doesn't have anything to do with fear and through fear, through fear. So I'm like already disappointed because I like to place debuffs on my enemies that I'm 100% sure will make them not move. I'm talking about stun. I'd rather stun for 1 turn than fear for 2 turns. Fine, true fear is better than fear, but it seems like this champion has a lot of fear going on, and it seems like this champion will be a debuffer, a defense-based debuffer. Now, let me not judge yet. Let me start with the A1 right now. On the A1, this champion attacks one enemy, has a 35% chance of placing fear on one A1 right there. This attack will always be critical if the target is under fear. So a debuffer that will always crit on this A1 if there is fear out there. But if you're the one placing the fear, how would you crit when there is no fear out there already? Unless one other skill will have to place the fear before he can use this A1 to benefit from that crit. So don't be too quick to judge whether you add crit on this champion or not. You will still need crit because this A1 is not the one that should be doing damage. I'll also be finding out if he's a damage dealer or not. This chance of placing this fear on the A1 will be increased up to 50% if this champion is fully booked on that A1. On the A2, Horrors Beyond attacks all enemies. That's an AoE skill. We love to see it. Has an 80% chance, booked up to 100% chance of placing True Fear for 1 turn. That's a problem. True Fear for 1 turn, that's a problem. I'd rather take fear for 2 turns than True Fear for 1 turn. Well, that's a higher chance that the enemies will miss out on their abilities entirely when they take a turn. And this skill can be booked down to a 3-turn cooldown. So that's a nice debuff to have, I guess. This debuff cannot be resisted if targets is already under fear debuffs. That's another condition again that I don't think will be fulfilled, because everything is basically for 1 turn. If there is a skill that places fear for at least 2-3 turns, then you benefit from this A2. But I feel like this champion will always open the battle up with this A2. So it is booked up to 100% chance of placing fear. That's a nice one. I'm not going to lie. I love to see it. I can already think of what's his name. This barbarian champion that places fear, but his own is also conditional. So on my account, I don't have a lot of champions that place fear or true fear. It's not a debuff that I bring to battle. It's not one that I rely on. That's just to be honest. To finally have a champion that can do it consistently like this on this A2, it's nice, I guess. I say as if I already have the champion. To finally have a champion in the game that can do it. I know Harvest Jack is the best at it. I don't know about fear, like I said, but I'm guessing Harvest Jack is the best I know that can deal with fear and true fear on enemies. Alright, on the A3, attacks all enemies will ignore 30% of each target's defense against targets under fear or through fear. So he will ignore 30% of their defense if they have any of these two debuffs on them. This attack is always critical again if target is under fear or through fear. So this A3 will be the nuking ability, but there's a condition right here. This damage of this skill increases by 10% every time a fear or through fear debuff is placed on an enemy. So the damage can be increased by a lot more than just ignoring 30% defense. This skill has to be the nuking ability. But guess what? This skill is not available for you to use. This skill has a 40% chance to be unlocked. So this skill is locked. It's not a skill you can go into and use. No. It has a 40% chance to be unlocked for 1 turn whenever a fear or true fear debuff is placed on an enemy. So I'm guessing if he's going to start the battle with the AoE of the A2, that means 4 enemies or 5 enemies already have fear or true fear on them. This skill has a 40% chance to be unlocked for 1 turn whenever a fear or true fear debuff is placed on an enemy. What about 4 enemies? What about 5 enemies? That means it has a 40-40. Is it 40-40-40-40-40? It has to be 1 chance on 1 enemy, 1 chance on 1 enemy, 1 chance on enemy. So there's every possibility that once he starts the battle with this A2, this skill will be available for him once he places fear or true fear on 4 to 5 enemies. That's the way I see it. Let me know if I'm wrong about this, my interpretation of this skill and how it's unlocked. I feel that's the way it goes. This skill will be unlocked instantly once the A2 is used. On the passive, increases the chance of enemy skills failing by 15%, because that's what fear or true fear does. He increases the chance additional 15% for them to fail when enemies are under fear or true fear, which is nice. That's a passive effect. This skill also has an active effect which can be used, right? Prevents this champion's death and keeps them alive for... That's supposed to be the passive though. How is it an active effect if it's... Well, it prevents this champion's death and keeps them alive on 1 HP when hit by a fatal hit. That's like a skull crown, but it doesn't put unkillable. I can think of skull crown or Lyrus, right? But he doesn't do unkillable. He just prevents the death and stays on 1 HP, right? When hit by a fatal hit. Then removes all buffs and debuffs from this champion. After preventing this champion's death, fully heals them to full max HP again and depletes their Demytha. So you are alive to start the battle again with full HP. Then has a 80% chance of placing a fear debuff on all enemies. 80% chance of placing a fear debuff on all enemies. Finally, places a sleep debuff on this champion for 1 turn. This debuff cannot be resisted or blocked. 4 turn cooldown on all this. So what I'm kind of confused about on this last passive and active part of it is that, is it going to be useful? Is it something I can use in battle? Or since it's part of a passive, it's something I cannot use. I have to wait till it takes effect on its own. So it only takes effect when... So passive always takes effect in every turn. I feel like this one is an active effect because it only takes effect when you are actually hit and knocked to 1 HP, and then all this stuff will begin to happen. So it's not something he can do on his ally enemies, or his allies team members. No, it's something he can do only on himself or herself. It's itself, let's call it that. So that's what I think about this part of this skill. Goes unkillable for 1. He can't kill this champion, basically. That's what it means. He will come back to full HP, go to sleep, fear your enemies, 80% chance of fearing them, and then have his Demytha depleted and put himself to sleep. This cannot be resisted. He will just do all that stuff, be full HP, and go asleep. That's a nice passive. So initially I was disappointed by the A1. I was okay with the A2. I was confused by the A3 because it's a lock skill. Let's see how often it will be unlocked, and then now I'm happy about the A3. So I mean, I'm happy about the passive and the active part of it. So that's what I think about this champion. I've broken it down the best way I could. Fortus will be awesome because it's a void legendary. They had to make this champion special with this fear and true fear and everything he brings. So now I'm confused whether you bring this champion to the battle as just a mere debuffer with high accuracy, or you have to also build crit rate and crit damage on this champion to also do some damage on this A3 when it is finally unlocked, because I feel like this skill will hit so hard. So crit rate, crit damage, or just high accuracy to always land that fear or true fear. We'll find out when this champion is launched. Now to the main event that I'm actually here for. Tomoe. I guess I have to call it that way because this is a champion from the Shadow King faction, and you have to always add that Asian intuition into this pronunciation when you say the name. Tomoe. On the A1, stab and grab attacks one enemy, has a 30% chance of stealing a random buff from the target. An A1 that is useful. We love to see it. The chance can be increased to 50% when the champion is booked. That's a good one. I can't mock that A1. On the A2, attacks all enemies, has a 35% chance of placing decreased attack. 75% chance of placing decreased attack. Booked up to 100% chance of placing it. That's a good one also. How many turn? 3 turn cooldown right there on this skill. AoE decrease attack. I'm trying to think whether it's a good one or not. I'm trying to decide right now. For 2 turns, it does nothing else. Just AoE decrease attack. Let me not judge that skill yet. On the A1, it's good. On the A2, I don't know yet, because we already have champions who do AoE decrease attack, right? And they do something else besides just AoE decrease attack. So I'm looking like this is not enough. AoE decrease attack for 2 turns is not enough on a champion. On this day in raid, it's not enough. This skill should do something else to make it worth this champion being used in battle. All I can think of is a Stagnite. A Stagnite is what I'm comparing this champion to right now. AoE decrease attack for 2 turns. We need something else to be added to this skill. You can't do this in 2022 in raid and get away with it. No, people will not use this champion. She has to bring something else to the battle. So already I'm disappointed by this A2. I've decided that A2 does not meet the standard of new champions in raid right now. I guess no, I wouldn't make any excuses for that skill. On the A3, places a counter attack buff on a target ally for 2 turns. Target ally for 2 turns. That's a counter attack buff on one single ally. Places a counter attack buff for 3 turns instead if this ally is from the Shadow King faction. Counter attack on one person, it's not a skill we want to see. I can already think of Jizo. Jizo, yes, that's a champion that places counter attack on one ally, right? Nope, we don't want to see it. Whether you're placing it on 2 turn or 3 turn, we don't want to see it in raid. If you're not going to do AoE counter attack, I guess the days of AoE counter attack are long gone. We are not seeing champions anymore in raid that brings AoE counter attack, at least on all your allies. It doesn't exist anymore. So I guess we're going to see only these ones. Then fills the champion's Demytha, fills the Demytha of all allies by 15% and places increased crit rate buff on all allies for 2 turns. This is a bribe. So the counter attack was not okay. Now you're adding increased Demytha 15% fill, then increased crit damage buff on all allies, then increased crit rate buff also on all allies. Come on. I'm highly disappointed that they keep. Well, basically it means you have increased crit damage on all your allies, right? But you have increased crit rate on only Shadow King faction champions. That means bring your own damn crit rate to the battle. This champion will not place 30% increased crit rate on you. I'm talking about your nukas, because not everybody uses ninja. So except you're using ninja in all your battles, then bring a 70% crit rate. But all your other allies in the battle will still need their 100% crit rate when this champion is in the battle. You cannot rely on this champion to bring your crit rate for you, because the condition right there is only for faction, Shadow King faction champions. So I'm okay with the second part of that skill that brings increased crit damage on everybody. I'm not okay with it bringing Oleda increased crit rate only to Shadow King faction champions, and I'm also not okay with the first part of counter attack on only one ally. So that A3 skill right there is a fail for me. It's a fail. So increase all Tomoe field effects and heals by 20% when used on allies Shadow King condition again. Automatically this champion has been relegated to the faction wars. By putting all this condition on this champion, if there are multiple champions on the team with this skill, this champion has been used or sentenced to a life of faction wars only. That will be used on level 50, not even taken to level 60. That is what Raid has done to this champion. Increase ally speed in all faction crypt. Exactly. Even the aura says all faction crypt by 24. That means use this champion only for faction wars. Do not build this champion if you want to push dungeon, if you want decrease AoE, decrease attack, if you want increase crit rate, increase crit damage. This is not a champion for you. This is a champion used only in a Shadow King faction. So that's my verdict about Tomoe. Let me know if you think I'm wrong. I'm always looking to be corrected in the comments below. Alright, for the last champion right here that is released as part of this fusion is Prosecutor. Prosecutor is a rare champion, spirit affinity, high elves. That is where the apothecaries belong to. High elf faction already have a lot of good rares, so I don't know why they are adding more to them, but hey, let's see if this champion can be better. Is an attack champion. That means it's not a support champion at all. This champion will do damage, I guess. Each hit has a 20% chance of decreasing the target storm meter by 10%. I almost got excited for a second there. Then I remembered it's 20% chance. Well, you know what came to my mind immediately? Amiga. Do we have another Amiga in Raid? I thought it says each hit has a... If you should have just said each hit decreases the target storm meter by 10%. Each hit decreases target storm meter by 10%. I didn't want to see that 20% part of it right there. So that means that A1 will not be useful if you're relying on this champion as a storm meter reduction champion. Nope, it's not going to work for you. On the A2, attacks all enemies has a 50% chance of placing 30% in decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. Is that a bigger version of decreased speed? Is that the bigger version of decreased speed? I forget. Somebody remind me. I have to check. I'm looking for a decreased speed champion that I have. Decreased speed. 30%. That's a bigger version of decreased speed. For 2 turns. On a 3-turn cooldown. That's a useful skill right there, but it's kind of niche. Decreased speed is not the most important debuff you must bring to every battle, but is useful in certain places. So I can already see this champion. You're thinking early game Fire Knight. No, nobody uses this rares for Fire Knight. I'm thinking of no, I can't see this happening, but I feel like if you're new to Raid and you're looking for somebody to take care of that new boss on the Iron Twins, decreased speed works right there. So that's the only reason why I can think of why they will bring a champion who places 30% decreased speed on a 3-turn cooldown like this. Only for champions or players who are trying desperately to beat the Iron Twins Fortress, and this champion can place that decreased speed for you right there. That's the only reason why I can think of it if you don't have a Stagnite yet to do it on his A1. So far the A2 is very useful. A1 not so much because you can't decrease the turn meter of certain bosses in Raid, and it's a very low chance of decreasing that turn meter. Attacks all enemies 3 times. No, attacks one enemy 3 times. Places a 50% increased accuracy. Again, that's also useful for the Iron Twins Fortress. Increased accuracy buff on this champion for 2 turns. That means before attacking. That means this champion will... Each hit has a 30% chance of placing 100% heal reduction debuff for 2 turns. That boss doesn't heal. So when is this going to be useful? 30% chance of placing heal reduction. Heal reduction is still not very useful in Raid, except you're doing high level Doom Tower content where heal reduction is very, very useful. All right, so far my verdict on this champion is that it's not that great. It's not a champion that you want to build. It's not one of these rares that you take to 50 or 60 yet in Raid Shadow Legends. This is one of those rares that will become food repeatedly, except you're desperate for this decreased speed right there and increased accuracy buff on this champion. It's not an increased accuracy that you place on all allies. It would have been better if it was even a lower version of this increased accuracy, but now it's just a single target increased accuracy on herself. So it's not a champion that is useful. My verdict so far on this ones, let me end the video here, is this Prosecutor will be always food for me. Even if the noob to pro is not useful, this Tomoe is not worth going for. If you're looking at this fusion, you think you can't go for this legendary champion, this is not worth breaking sweat over. This champion is being relegated to faction wars, except you're desperate going for that Shadow King faction, then go for this champion and use for that content. So, but it's not a champion that I will want to build on my noob to pro instantly. It's one of those ones that I will obtain and put in the vault. On my main account, while I'm going for this main champion, I will not be trying to get any duplicates of Tomoe. No, it's not one of those champions that I want duplicates of her because I feel like it's going to be useful somewhere. No. I'm always looking forward to your corrections in the comments below. That's what I think about the new champions that are released in Raid. This one is awesome. It's a void champion, so it's very conditional. A lot is going on right here, and it's a champion that can be easily countered with resist and with block buff and with cleanse of Mithrala Life Bane. So I don't feel this champion is coming to Raid with anything new that would change the meta. I feel like it's kind of niche, and a lot of people will not be going crazy over this one. It's a champion that can be fear is not just a debuff. True fear is just a debuff, so we can always cleanse it, can always resist it. So it's not anything new. So it's not a one that I'm looking forward to getting instantly. No, still want a Lurius or something better than this. All right, let me know what you think about my review of these new champions that have been joining Raid tomorrow when the fusion is launched. Let me know if you have any other contrary opinions to these ones, and I'll see you guys in the comments below. Hit that like button in this video if you enjoyed my commentary on my review of these champions, my first impressions, and I'm always looking to change my idea of them when I see them live tested in Raid, and we'll see their multipliers and all that good stuff. Later, guys.